hard on the paint by Big Country Equipment. Well, welcome to another episode of Big Country Equipment. That's hard on the paint. Today, we got a really cool guest. His name's Sam Slammer Powers from Sonora, Texas, where he resides. Sam Harrison and I have been knowing you for a few years now, and we appreciate you making the trip, the long journey from Sonora to San Angelo, and hopefully after we get done today, we'll do some roping. Maybe you can give us some dogging lessons, but you're a professional steer wrestler or bulldogger. Got background in the ranching industry and rodeo industry that goes generations. Will you tell us about what's been going on with in your recent life, and we'll just go from there.
Well, this is Sammy P. Been some come before me, some after, but there's never been one like me.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me on,
Yes,
and
sir.
sure going to enjoy this.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
Shoot, anytime, fellas. I know lots of old cowboys rode further for less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that they were riding too.
You ain't wrong.
So the other day we were at the San Angelo Rodeo, and I can't remember which perf it was, but you won around there.
Yes, sir. I believe it was the 7th perf. 7th
perf, yes, sir.
It was April 12th.
Yes, sir. And you had a pretty funny interview after with I don't know who was it that was doing that interview.
I don't know. I had never seen that pretty lady before. But I'm married now. You know, I'm real faithful. But I just get to stand next to another beautiful girl. You got to do something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Was it a TV show, or not TV, but just the local television?
I did one for them, and then the Cowboy Channel as well.
Oh, maybe that's who it was with. I think it was with the Cowboy Channel.
I left them with Stay Beautiful, and the Cowboy Channel used that one when they went away to commercial.
They said, "Stay beautiful."
Yeah. Stole my quote.
I think that needs to be on the back of trucks and trailers and in quotations.
Well, if there was that many people that like to have a good time, I'm sure there would, but there's only a few of us.
Yes,
It'd be a good horse name too.
Yeah.
Stay Beautiful.
Yeah. One of my horses, his paper name is Looking Stylish. So
Now, you had a family horse that had a unique name. That was in that interview, and I never knew.
Yeah, we had Yellow Dog and then Bad Motor Scooter. My granddad, my dad did.
Mm-hmm. So what about so your granddad was kind of pioneer in steer wrestling, or
No,
educate us on that.
Well, depends on if you watch what's the movie with Woody Harrelson and Sonny. It's Pepper and Sonny, The Cowboy Way.
Yeah.
Bill Pickett, created, or William, depends on which way you want to go.
Yeah.
But my granddad learned to steer wrestle from Bud Smith, Ole Smith's dad, and back in them days, they went to town, once a month. It was a privilege, but they rode calves and everything down there at Jim Bob's and Bud's and bulldogged and tripped and did the whole nine. And then my granddad was a real good calf roper, and my dad ropes good too, but his strong suit was steer wrestling. And I was a calf roper myself when I started my career, but obviously what they rope nowadays, it's hard to rope a little 160-pound calf weighing 300 or close to that. I can't help, I'm just this muscular. But so I started to stick with steer wrestling now.
Yes, sir.
But I've tripped and team roped and everything. When I started out, I used to work really hard at practicing. And a funny story, whenever I got into tripping, one of my traveling partners at the time was Matt Reeves. And Cody Lee, he taught me how to trip, and he was talking with Matt. He's like, well, Sam's going to come practice. And Matt goes, well, shit, I don't know how you're going to get any good at it. Hell, he'll drive 3 hours to run one steer. It's going to take you a while to get this tripping down for old Sambo.
Yeah. Well, we've gotten to watch you do some tripping at the Roping Fiesta, and a lot of people don't know. I mean, outside of just the general rodeo community, I guess, but what steer tripping is, and I remember first time I saw someone trip, which old boy came to the arena when I was a kid and wanted to try a tripping horse, and I think I was 7 or 8 years old by the time I first saw that happen in action. That and double mugging as well.
Yeah.
Double mugging. I didn't even know about double mugging until I was in college and met some people who do it, and it seems like it's pretty isolated to West Texas.
Well, there's a lot of guys that do it all over. I think, in Florida, they team rope them and then run down there. They don't tie on. I think it's the way we do it is limited to our region and up to probably Kansas, but, everybody has their own way of doing it. And I had never seen too many people who are like, yep, I'm going to double mug. You've really got to want to do it. And, them old calves, sort of like a first date, getting it on them ain't hard. It's once you get them off their feet. That's the real hard part. I myself have had my guts kicked out down there in the arena. Like, please stop kicking.
Yeah, and I guess, because of the challenges with double mugging, it's fun to observe.
I don't know of another sport where you can drink more beer and watch it and laugh and have a good time with everybody that goes.
Yeah, it's a blast to watch.
First time I watched it, I was like, why isn't this on the NFR? This is the thing to watch.
You ain't lying. And Chris Juarez has done. He really started that, I believe, and got that going up there. And he did it for a long time. So special thanks to Chris Juarez and GM Welding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So your family is always from Sonora, or where were they from originally? Or
well, the Espy side, there was some of us that come over on the Mayflower, and I don't know how they made their way. Everybody on that side, my grandmother was a Espy, and she died in '93, and then Tommy Whitehead, she's a cousin of mine, and Espy, they're married to Bud. She's married to Bud, and Espy's a cousin, and they've informed me in on some things. Love getting to visit with them. But the Allisons come over from South Carolina and then went to Georgia and then come over, and land was $1 an acre and wool was $1 a pound.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could trade some wool for some land.
I'm telling you. I've seen letters that said grass is 8 feet tall. Like, people would write their families and tell them, like, come out. You need to come and buy a place out here. The grass will never get eaten away. It's 8 feet tall. And I guess they found a way to eat it down. And then the old Dust Bowl happened, and now we're just left with rocks. But it makes good horses.
Yeah.
That's a good sure-footed horse, don't it?
I'm telling you what.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to, not quite as far as writing to the family in South Carolina or Georgia or anything, but yeah, when you read like in our family book, there's a lot of good information in there about why they settled and how they settled and the history behind it all. And I don't think anyone ever thought that the land itself would be consumed and developed, as fast as it did, and there's technology that accelerated that, but I don't think anyone 150 years ago ever thought that it would happen so fast. I had a class at Tech in horticulture, and the professor was saying that even on the South Plains, the native grasses were 9 feet tall, and that the Native Americans would stick, put a tall stick in the ground and stick a skull on the top of an animal or whatever, just as markings for, where to go.
Or twist oak trees when they're little.
Really?
That meant that there was a cave.
I did not know that.
Yes, sir. Next time you see an oak tree, it's got a bend in it.
Yeah.
There's a cave,
Well,
probably.
Harrison and I know about a cave somewhere.
Yeah.
But there are no trees beside it.
Those markers were long gone.
Yeah, they must have cut that tree down.
That Empire of the Summer Moon is really good on that information. Shoot, I feel like we're in the second stage of that in our lifetime. It's harder for bigger places to stay together, and there's more people now who are trying to get out rural and get away from cities because of the pandemic, and they realize, okay, maybe my food just doesn't come from the grocery store, like it gets an order in, and they're trying to grow their own stuff and harvest their own meat, or at least that's the way it looks to me.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you've been doing the rodeo thing for a long time, and you've been ranching your whole life as well. Is there one that you prefer, one or the over? I mean, do you like ranching more? Do you like rodeo more? Or do you like the way they kind of interchange with each other?
I really like the way they intertwine with each other. The only thing I'll say is for the day working and ranching, I love getting to do that because you're always around your friends or people that want you there. And, when you set out going to gather a pasture or work something, everybody's got your back, or they better have it. That I would hate to be on a crew where they're like, oh, he's in a bind, let's just have a beer. Let's start out. That's probably my favorite thing about it is I'm always not too far from home, or you're working your place or somebody else's, and they're really there for you. Rodeoing, you've got to go around and meet good people. There's some people out there that take advantage of you, but at the end of the day, there's nothing like making a large sum of money in a short amount of time. And then you're always going somewhere new, and there's new places, and you see things that most people don't see, or the restaurants to go to when you go to a town or something. And then the good thing about rodeoing versus day working, sort of like when you're playing high school football, it's what can you do for me that day, and you get the glory that day, whether you make a good run on the bad steer or you win the rodeo. Versus day working, you're just hanging out trying to fit in and get the job done.
Yeah, you're on the practice team.
Yeah, on the practice team.
What's your favorite rodeo?
My favorite rodeo would be Angelo, because it's right here, and there's no place like your hometown where you have the people, you're lined up right there, and they're over the top of you, and they're cheering for you. I can't, like this year, my first round, I'm trying to be serious and get the job done, and there's 100 people trying to tell me hello, and you start out, you're like, hey, how's it going? And then you're like, I'm here to do a job, and you're trying to be serious, and obviously that did not work. This year I had a no time. But the second day I was like, well, I know I'm here for a reason today. It's all or nothing. I'm having a good time. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. And it works out great. And I guess it just depends on the situation there, if you want to be serious or happy, but I have a lot more luck with happy.
Sterling and I were being told that the San Angelo Rodeo is a lot like, it's the closest rodeo to being the feel of being in the NFR.
It would be really close with the stockyards isn't very big either up there at Fort Worth, the little building. It's damn sure not a place you want to be late at. You either want to be in the barrier, or you want to break the barrier. Being late is terrible.
Yeah. Outside of Angelo, what's like a unique rodeo that you like going to?
My favorite circuit rodeo of the year, hands down, has to be Los Fresnos, Texas. Every day, it's right there by South Padre Island. It's literally 10 miles from South Padre. During the day, you can go over to South Padre and hang out. At night, when you actually, they're the only ones, really, 2 hours before, they have dinner ready. And they feed you everything from enchiladas to what they call low country shrimp bowl, which is, they like cook a whole pot of shrimp, potatoes. It's the hardest part is knowing whether to go and eat and hang out before or after you get done. And then 3/4 of the way through the rodeo, in the far on the back right side, on the corner of the arena, they have a band. They just start playing.
Really?
They halfway through, they do an intermission. Everybody goes, gets them a beer. Then they come back. The band starts playing literally while they're calf roping and everything, and they're still doing the rodeo. And then after, they'll serve the cowboys free beer till 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 o'clock in the morning, They have like Kevin. I've hung out with Kevin Fowler there. I mean, every time I go down there, it's a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we know which one we're going to next.
Yeah, I think we need to visit that one.
Yes, sir.
I like the free beer aspect and,
I
and the
mean-
great food.
Yeah, you ever gone to any in the West Coast or any up north?
Those California rodeos are really fun. I had such a good time. I lost a wrestling match out there one time, but they're really good. The women are beautiful. The atmosphere is great. One time we entered out there and we rode for 2 days in a truck out there. We leave Red Bluff and we are headed to Corpus Christi, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I've never wanted to get out of a truck so bad in my life. And we had to be there in like a day and a half. Like, it was no joke. We left Red Bluff. But those are great rodeos, big, long scores, and run them down. And sure enough, cowboying. But,
Yeah.
you know, that cowboying stuff can get you in a bind if you aren't watching out.
Yeah. So was it your dad or your granddad that taught you how to throw down steers?
Oh, from the time I grew up, it was a family function every day. I love my granddad because he was like, whatever you're gonna do, it's all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was really hard on me too. Probably the greatest thing my granddad was always like, 99% of the things that happen you caused. And one thing that's made me really tough is like sometimes, whether it was a good run, everybody'd celebrate, but if a steer went left or if a steer went right, like, they weren't like, oh, well, that's too bad. They were like, get around it and get a time. Like, that doesn't stop you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the greatest thing he ever did. But it was a family, everybody, all hands on deck. We had me, H, and Jimmy, and then somebody to open the gate. And we could literally do every event. And it was lights out 100% every day.
Really?
Yes, sir.
How many? I mean, were you pretty stacked up on horses growing up, or were y'all practicing every day?
Every day. My granddad loved to watch the horses work, whether it's team roping, calf roping.
Mm-hmm.
He loved calf roping because he was really a calf roper, and then loved bulldogging. And up until I was in college, from the time I was born, you had Steve Duhon, and there was the top 30 in the world steer wrestling there every day during San Angelo and these winter rodeos.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that nobody's ever going to get to see again because, like, they're not going to line these rodeos up like they used to. I think in the Northwest it happens a little bit, but I mean, for a month, you literally could run as many steers as you wanted to. When they got done, they would eat, then go varmint hunting. It was the best. I had the best place growing up to practice anybody could want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were saying during the San Angelo rodeo that the times that they had set up for this year and the American were clashing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made it difficult for a lot of people to either pick one or the other.
Yeah, it sure looked that way to me whenever we didn't have a full perf my set. We didn't even get to see the whole herd in our pen, but I mean, I can't blame them going to compete for $1 million and then versus, I mean, Angelo adds a ton of money. And what's the great thing about Angelo is it's the last major rodeo in the winter that adds as much money as it does, and they take everybody. When you're the champ at Angelo, you beat everybody that has a card. It's really an amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so when you do those things, you just got to take it as they roll and pick which way you want to go. And used to wasn't the American was in March, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they just started that deal. It's still been going on for like less than 10 years. About 20, maybe it was like 2015, 2016 when they started it.
I think I just got in college.
Maybe it's right at 10 years. That's a pretty goal. And haven't you entered in that one a handful of times?
I've entered a bunch in it. I've made it to the 10-man round at the American. I didn't get out of that. I didn't exactly have the best steer, but it's sure enough an experience.
Yeah. Did you enjoy that?
I loved every minute of it. In the 15-man round or the 20-man round, the competitors compete. I've got Matt Reeves Hazen, my good buddy Cody Jane. I'm in the box, and this is like make or break it here on whether I make it back. My buddy here, he's like, horse ain't right. Horse ain't right. And my horse Turbo is an amazing horse. I got her from Brian and Lisa Anderson. They're some of the greatest people I know in the world. She won't get right. Finally, I was like, damn it, get right. The camera's on me, everything. He just starts laughing. We both are like, okay, we probably need to settle down and run this steer and get away from here. Finally nodded, 4 flat, made it back. But just the moment of having the will to be like, to just make an outburst and melt down and then go right back to it was funny. Cody still laughs about that.
When my dad was college rodeoing, it wasn't his horse. There was I can't remember the nickname they had for this guy. Maybe his name was Tinker. Mm-hmm. And Tinker had a horse that everybody used to dog on, and you had to back into the box with a baseball bat. And once you nodded, you just let go of the baseball bat. Then you'd go dog your steer.
Hope the start wasn't fast.
But that's the way. I mean, that's the way he always told it. And like, he had pictures of him, like guys backed up into the box holding a little baseball bat. But the reason for that was because I guess the horse respected the bat more than the cowboy, and that was how they were able to get settled down.
Well, you know, them horses are a lot like people. I'd rather listen than take a little pain trying to learn.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good bull right there. I like that stuff.
Yes, sir. Marty Eakin, he had one. He'd get off and walk him in the box on foot, the paint horse, lead him around, back him in there, then get on him, and he could nod. Couldn't ride him in the box.
Really?
Yeah. And I think he made the college finals doing that.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Can't knock a guy for making it work.
I'm telling you.
No excuses there.
Yes, sir.
So how many dog and horses do you have? Like, do you keep 2 or 3 horses for just rodeoing, and then have some practice ones or potentials at the house? Or
Well, right now I just have one, and I'm fixing to start looking for another one. I want to keep rodeoing, whether it's hard or just going around is fun. Mm-hmm. But I'd love to really take off 1 year and go and try it hard. But I just have one right now. It helps to have 2 or 3, but if you're going to go out there and buy a couple, they all need to be good, because you need good practice runs on when you practice. You don't need to ever be like, this horse has a problem and I can't get through this hole, so we're just going to practice on it. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing is starting them, and when I do that, everybody's on a level playing field. We go through a lot of pain and suffering riding them pastures. They learn to like that arena. Oh, this is nice and relaxing, and you get to where you transfer from like, well, I can't take him and day work on him anymore. He's doing so good, and but like my colts, and I day work with quite a crew, but I am the guy. I'll pack me a 357 rifle or a pistol. When mine go to the show, they've seen it all. They've had some roping, they've had some shooting off of them. They're gentle.
No baseball.
And if
bats,
they're
though.
hurt, they're like, I'm hurt. I'm like, don't you hurt the person that's looking at you. It won't be good for you.
Yeah. That's awesome. Go ahead, Harrison.
Oh, what I was going to say is, do you still live on the family ranch?
Yes, sir. I live on the Espy Ranch we have. It's down Bond Road about 12 miles, and you go back in there, and I think my house is over 100 years old. We had to build our house out of rock. It looks like the Alamo, 2 foot thick rock walls.
Well, hey, all your resources right there in Sutton County. You didn't have to order any.
I'm telling you what.
You're just shit out of luck if you need any kindling.
I'm telling you, he ain't wrong. I would say, honestly, the hardest part is the way the government, it's hard to when I grew up, it wasn't hard to buy a place or expand. Having horses, you ask, you could find two or three, as many horses as you wanted for 20 to 40,000, and they were great horses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now everything in the world has gone up. I mean, a place most of the time, if it don't have water, is close to $1 million. If it's over 100 acres, or if it's even, and then your horses are worth. When I started, a prospect would be 5 to 10, and now they're worth. People start out at 20. And the thing is, people want to sell you a dream versus reality. The reality is you can't do anything with him, and you don't want to spend the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to sell him to me for what he is. And so they go around and they just hold on to these horses, and they never get anything done with them. Well, the worst thing we all know is a horse that has potential that never gets to use it because someone was too proud to. I had one. I paid $15,000 for him in a sale. Was not what I wanted. I sold him for $4,000. I did not mind taking the $11,000 loss because it was a good lesson. Every setback I've ever had was a learning experience. I hope the guy I sold him to was day working, but I also knew people couldn't use him in the arena, and then nobody else was going to try to steer wrestle on him. And so, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you got to have, I guess life is a lot like webbing. You're always making friends and stuff, and so you can always do things. But
Mm-hmm.
to start out now and say, I'm going to have 2 or 3 good horses, and then I'm going to have 3 or 4 practice horses. I mean, that would be. I bet you're looking to spend $200,000.
Yeah, I could see that.
A new bloomer trailer, and I sold my living quarters. It is a 4-star, is a nice trailer. The only thing wrong is if you blow a tire, the fender costs $27, or it did. We got them tariffs now. that aluminum was $2,700. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah.
And something's always wrong on those big trailers. But I got my Bruton now, which I love Bruton, and I think they're right here out of San Angelo, thanks to Bays and his dad. Zip, Zane, and the whole family over there. My granddad was in business with Bruton, and then the kids took that over, and they've done really well. Mark and Carrie and Kathy and Zane and Bays are working there. I mean, it's a multi-generational deal. It's really neat.
We got an 04 cow horse combo at where we just dropped your pony off at, and Bruton. I think we're looking at another one. So I like family businesses, and I like San Angelo businesses.
Well, our dad used to work at Gooseneck down in College Station College.
Brian.
Oh, there's a difference.
Yeah. And
we're factual on this podcast there.
And so when we were growing up, we had some goosenecks. And I remember my dad, he's like, all right, it's time for a new trailer. And I asked him, I said, because I've always been real fascinated with what we use. And he goes, we're going to go get a Bruton. I said, I never even heard of a Bruton. And obviously, I was a little kid. Like, I'm not.
Daddy, I'm 6 years old. What the hell's?
Yeah. And he's like, he called up, and he said, I want something that Aubrey Cothman won't screw up, which that's our grandfather, and he was hard on trailers. I mean, run over a mesquite tree, whatever.
You don't have to tell my family nothing. We know the same thing.
and they brought us a trailer, and like Sterling said, it's 04, and man, there ain't nothing wrong with it, and it's seen some shit, and so it's like, well, sure,
they're built for life.
When he said I want an Aubrey Cothman proof, you almost have to have a 2-ton truck to haul that trailer down empty.
Yeah, that when we were kids, I think Aubrey's trailer was an old Bruton too.
Yeah, it's
and
old,
we were in like a 7.3 Ford pickup, like a 99 maybe, and I mean, Harrison and I, we're just in the back seat, and we had spent all day gathering and shipping goats, and the sun is going down, pretty much set, and this one pasture we were in, I mean, there was not a good place to turn around as I imagine it, and there's pear and rocks and mesquite and cedar all around you, whichever way. And I think Harrison was throwing a fit in the back seat, or something, and Dad turning around trying to back this trailer up, and as he's talking to Harrison, and I'll tell you, the Bruton is tougher than the 7.3 Ford cab. It got
Yes, sir.
jackknifed and glass comes coming in, and my dad, he didn't speak the whole way home. You ever had an accident where you're just so pissed off at yourself, and you're just like, I'm just not going to talk. I mean,
I don't cuss life anymore. I just cuss myself.
yeah. No, their stuff is built for this rough country.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day, he goes, why don't y'all just buy aluminum? I was like, that's great if we don't use it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can take, but that's like you guys. I mean, when you lease or buy some equipment, you come in, you get to meet everybody. Everybody, if there's a problem or anything, it's all hands on deck.
Mm-hmm.
Same way with Bruton. I mean, like, that's what I love about these family companies, and I can't wait to see, when you guys are working with y'all's kids.
Yeah, I mean,
If I make it that long.
I'm already trying. I got Josie. She's 17 months, and I'm already taking her with me to feed horses and check water at the house. And we got some black buck turned out at the house, and so we're always checking water and putting out feed. And like, she's already figuring it out pretty quick. Like, she rides on the lawnmower with me, cutting grass, and rides in the tractor with me when we're dragging the arena and stuff. And so
Another 17 months, she'll be driving a skid steer.
Can't beat that.
we'll have to get her some pedals. That
Raise
come
the
up a little foot further, but
Yeah, she's going to be picking some mesquite trees out of the ranch.
but yeah, it's fun. I definitely can see how Harris and I got our start, because we were Dad took us everywhere with him. And we were homeschooled for a long time, so we really were. Wherever he went, we were going with him. As long as we got our spelling quiz done, and we could go on with him. And so,
Well, you guys are both college graduates,
it's singular.
Yeah, I didn't finish. I got close.
Well, y'all both went to college, but, they make those colleges and talk about the techniques and stuff for where they're at. It's not a worldwide deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned way more from my parents, and most of the people I'm around, I learned more from them than I ever did and some guy that was sitting in a chair and telling me.
Well, I think, there's...
Or girl.
There's definitely some positive things that happen from further education. They're teaching you the cognitive skills to apply, right? So the life lessons you're learning with your folks or through other people, you're taking those classes, and they're giving you illustrations basically, and you got to take that education and apply it to your own business, or maybe working for someone else, or whatever it may be. I definitely retained quite a bit of educational skills
And college is great. I'm not trying to say kids don't go to college.
But from things colleges don't teach is how do you, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, are you going to be a sole proprietor, are you going to be an LLC, are you going to be a C corp, an S corp, things like that. When you look at it, you go, well, and I did actually take a class that taught about those things, but there's tax advantages to them, right? Whichever one you become, there's liability advantages to whatever. So, and we had financial and managerial accounting, but a lot of it depends on what you go to study. And you were saying earlier, your granddad said, dude, if you're going to do something, do it with your best, put your best foot forward all the time. And if you go to college without the intention of putting your best foot forward in whatever you're studying, like if you're going to just get a degree, just say you went, it's not really putting your best foot forward.
I never have.
But if you are going to study a specific thing and apply it later, then absolutely it could be beneficial, right? I definitely want my doctor putting his best foot forward, or hell, my attorney, or whatever it may be, but like it's a trade. There's trades that don't require certain types of education. But I think, Dad always put us in a decision growing up, or put us in a position growing up to make a decision.
Yep.
Right. So, it was always, all right, you have a choice here, whether it was working cattle or how you're going to saddle a horse or how you're going to do this chore, right? How are you going to do it? And he'd let us do it the wrong way and then show us how he does it. And then you got to make that decision yourself next time. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to do it the most correct way, right?
Better.
And I think a lot of parents, try to just do everything for their kids and instead of letting them fail, right? And we had plenty of opportunities to failing growing up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what pushed us to.
Our parents, it wasn't just our dad; it was also our mom.
Yeah.
Now, our dad did have to tell our mom, "You gotta let the boys fall."
Mm-hmm.
And what Sterling touched on, I think, is what we're starting to see now in our generation of kids coming back, like Josie's age, where we're starting to see the parents allow their kids to fail, allow them to go make mistakes. Where I would say, and where we grew up, a lot of parents were like, no, we don't want that. We'll do it for them. And now we have a lot of people in the workplace that don't want to work. I had a vendor. I was at the office last week, and he goes, I had one of the employees walk up. He goes, I want to make $150,000 a year, and I expect I don't have to work past 5 o'clock. I don't have to show up before 8 o'clock. I don't have education. I don't want to speak to people. And this is an interview.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, there's a lot of people out there like that. And it was because of not letting your kids go stick his fingers in a light socket. Obviously, don't put your finger in the light socket, but you ain't going to do it twice.
100%. And to what you guys are saying, the greatest thing in the world is when you're growing up, whether you make the right choice or the wrong one, your parents are there to bail you out, but you learn from your mistakes. The toughest thing you'll ever do is learn how to be like them, whether it's good or bad, and it's all on you. You look a man square in the eyes, you shake their hand, or a woman, and you let them know that you tried everything you could. If you fail, and if you succeed, you're like, hey, we made it. That was a good choice. But if not, the toughest thing is a lot of people don't like to admit that they failed. Just go ahead and say it. Hey, I failed. I could not make it happen. Mm-hmm. And that's the hardest thing is to learn to be like your parents. I feel like there's a lot of kids that, because it's easy to go, didn't happen, I quit, I'm walking away. But it's another thing to sit there and take it and look people in the eyes and go, that's me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're going to see that a lot now that we have these 3rd, 4th generation ranches getting split up, and you got 1 out of 4 kids that go, I want to be a rancher. They have a unique ability to go, okay, well, I know what it should look like. I know that what didn't work, because obviously we're selling it because it's not making money. How do we get back in it? How do we go do it? And you got to throw all the dice on the table. And there's a really big gamble. There's more risk than there is reward in a lot of it. But if you can make it, if you can cut it, it's generational.
Well, the thing with agriculture, though, whether it's ranching or farming, part of the reward is the lifestyle. So you have to figure out, am I looking for monetary gain or lifestyle gain? And, we always joke about it. It's like, what's your goal with this dealership? It's like, someday I hope this dealership can buy a ranch, and that
yes,
I can do that. You know, so it's neat.
Well, I'll let you in on you asked what. So
yeah, absolutely.
I've had since everything's gone up. I no longer have all the practice horses. I don't need the fancy rigs. Now I want to have a good, I'm 30 years old, and there's some dents in the old. We're Ford tough at this moment. We ain't here like a Camaro. Like I once was a Camaro. I could run and take it. Now I'm like, yeah. So now I would rather have like my Bruton trailer, because It's going to last. It's tough. It's durable. And I would rather unload a $200,000 horse and save the $300,000 from the living quarters trailer. I'll take my bedroll. I don't care. Or I'll get a Peterbilt truck or something and have a sleeper in there. But through all this, I'm saving for the next generation so that if anything comes, we're okay, instead of like, carpe diem, baby, we're living for today.
Well, you say that, and it's really interesting outlook, because if you go, everybody knows who Lane Frost is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You talk about Lane Frost, or you talk about any of the guys that our dad rodeoed with that went on and on and on. They didn't show up in the nicest cars. They all piled into one car on bronc riders
Or a van.
Or they knew one buddy that had a big horse trailer, and they all pitched in and throw their horse in the trailer. And I think it's reverting back to that, of the mentality of keeping up with the Joneses, to be able to cover what you can afford.
Oh, legit. Well, a lot of people, they don't own these rigs. So they go to the bank, take all the money out. We're talking junior rodeo and up here, all the way to professional. They take the money out of the bank. Well, then they unload, a $40,000 horse. Mm-hmm. Well, you're in a $100,000 horse market. Like I told my wife, I was like, when we high school rodeo, I don't care if we stay in a hotel. Like, we're going to unload whatever is up so we can compete. We showing up to compete. I've never liked being second best. So I don't have to have, everything that glitters isn't gold.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that a lot. A thing that you did touch on earlier, and this was a conversation I was having last year, was you said when your family members were buying your ranch down in Sonora, it was $1 an acre, $1 per pound for wool.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're just now getting to a point where cows will justify the land payment for.
Yeah, well, livestock market's up and down.
Well, I think right now, which, I love cow. Here in West Texas, we raise the cows for show and the goats for dough, or sheep. But a lot of this country out here, sheep saved them and helped them get through. Mm-hmm. But with the cows right now, if you have them, you're making it. Mm-hmm. But the hardest part is being able to keep going. We're finally, in my opinion, getting paid what we ought to get paid, or we're close to that, because it's a lot of work from raising it and putting it on the plate that people don't understand. And I think the meat packers have made quite a bit of money off of us, off our hard work. Mm-hmm. But, man, if you're trying to expand or get in, you're worried right now if the market's going to crash. Because, if we go into business here and we buy 200 head of cows and they're going for, the other day at San Sabas, some Herefords went for $6,000 a round. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's 4 calves right there. If the market crashes.
You're done.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. We just spent $1,200 for Mexican cattle to rope per head, just a week ago, and
those were deals.
Yeah,
that was an inside deal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's an expensive game to play, but talking about how prices were 100 years ago, 150 years ago, our great grandfather Goodall Cothman, when they would haul their wool and mohair, he would buggy it from Teacup, which is south of London, between Junction and London, all the way to San Angelo to sell it. So our input costs now have changed, right, a lot. You got trains and airplanes and trucks and ships and all these different things to produce a product, where when they were hauling a product 150 years ago, they put it on a buggy, with 2 mules pulling it, and that's almost 100 miles from San Angelo to Teacup. And I can't imagine that being like, all right, baby, I'm gonna go haul this wool now. I'll be back at the end of the week,
Yes, sir.
And they, I think Arbery was telling me that it took Goodall about 2.5 days to do that, and it was a different time. Those people were hard, and I don't think any of our work ethic could even stand up close to what they were doing when they were settling this country,
100%. But I mean, like you say, when you got them kids on the ground,
You figure it out.
I mean, and not just that, but when it comes down to you and you're trying to make it, you're going to look at it and go, there's no plan B. We're like, more people could see, like, I'm going to look at it and make it instead of like, I just think we haven't been put in that position yet. But I know everybody I know would be able to make it because I don't really have a whole lot of friends that are like, and if it gets hard.
Man, if it gets hard, I'm moving to South Padre.
Yeah.
Give me a shrimping rig or something. What is your highlight of your? Go ahead.
Another thing too. I mean, he probably did that because he was friends with the person he was doing. My friends, I may not always make more money.
Mm-hmm.
But if times get bad, they're damn sure going to help me and save me a lot of money. And that's something to be, he could have been friends with the man he was doing business with up here in Angelo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's an article about Goodall from a magazine that was out of San Angelo, but it came out after, a few years after he had passed, and kind of talks about how he was involved in the Texas Sheep and Goat Association, and he was in a meeting in Fort Worth, and I remember when my grandpa told me that when they bought their first Model A was in 1928, and that Goodall never liked to drive it because it was so unfamiliar to him, that being on a horse was his preferred way of transportation.
You imagine going
and
from
that
a
guy
horse of loping to a vehicle. And I mean, that's just been so.
And that guy
foreign.
didn't pass away till I think 86 or 85. So it wasn't that long ago when things really started changing. And that same Model A, that's all my cousins. That's kind of like a tradition that when you get married, you drive away in the Model A.
That's pretty neat.
And Audrey and I got to drive away in it for our wedding, and my older brother Cash, and all of our cousins who've gotten married drove away in it, and so
If I ever find a broad.
I hope you do, brother. I'll be there.
If we can keep it running, we might have to push it. But it's completely different now. Trying to keep that Western way of life combined with making a living is a battle that I feel like has been going on for generations.
Like Monty Walsh said, if y'all ever watch that movie, Tom Selleck, progress is a funny word.
Yeah.
But, if you think about it, and I think you highlighted it really well, when COVID hit, we're going to see COVID in history books.
Oh, yeah.
Because it
was like the Spanish flu.
It rechanged the whole society and the way they think. You had people that never, ever thought about leaving where they're at. Joe Rogan's one of them. He's like, oh, I love California. I love the way this is. And then they're like, that mentality of, I can't walk down the street. I can't go get groceries. I can't get my everyday goods. And I'm in a concrete jungle and I can't produce them. Yeah, that's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's always interesting to me when somebody from the city that's never been out in the country comes out to San Angelo or Mason or Junction or London or wherever we're at, and they're like, so where's the nearest hospital? I'm like, you're an hour and a half away from any healthcare that's really going to save your life. And a couple years ago, before our grandfather died, he said when he was a kid on Whiskey Road, one of the neighbor's kids got a appendix ruptured. If you didn't realize it within 15 minutes of the appendix rupturing, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Well, Harrison, to be fair, your appendix ruptured, and you lasted longer than 15 minutes.
Yeah, but I had an automobile. You know?
I've never seen somebody that didn't enjoy, but here's the thing. My granddad said the law book was about that thick when he was a young man. I'd hate to see what the state legislature has now, how thick it is. I'm sure it's, but it just goes to show, like, we get away from morals and things, and people make laws so that you can't, instead of, we're kind of raised up the same way. Right's right, wrong's wrong. You don't intertwine, you don't cheat, you do it right, put your head down, you'll receive the reward of the benefits. And unfortunately, I mean, that's kind of what in my mind, the people that built everything, we're at the point right now in the world where we're just as important as they are, because it's either we make this work, we're looking at a deficit, our country, and we're looking at computers, and it's either going to be we can depend on man, or computers are going to have to do everything. In my point of view.
Well, if it ever collapses, if the computers ever collapse, we're screwed, because people don't know how to go work on an engine without using ChatGPT. People don't know. Right now, they're implementing all this technology in our softwares for techs to go learn. We go in an old school dealership. When I say old school, old John Deere, old New Holland, Ford, whatever. There was literally a room built in the store as a library. When's the last time you've been in a library since you were in high school?
Actually, a couple times there.
Gosh, damn, you proved me wrong right off the bat.
So I really enjoy giving back to Sonora, and I've gone and talked to the librarian. They wanted me to bring, I haven't done this yet, but they want to bring some animals so that the young kids in the community can pet them and stuff. And then, I mean, if you have to do any business in town and you don't have a printer, you can go to the library for 25 cents. You can use a computer and print off whatever you need. That's the only reason I've used my library.
But nobody just goes up there to go, oh, what's the law? Nobody goes up there and goes, oh, I don't know how to do this.
Well,
let's read
those are some benefits to technology, though, that you can ask ChatGPT, like, what's any kind of statistic you can think of, because it's all on the web. It's all tied to it. But I think it's more or less we're losing the ability to, like, the little tricks that your granddad knew, right? Or our great grandpa, our granddad knew that there was an easy, I say easier, but there were solutions to things that I won't probably ever know, because it was all in his brain, and that was only learned through experience that he had, right? When you talk about agriculture, why is agriculture so important? Well, there's 2% of the whole world is involved in agriculture production, and the rest of the world consumes it, right? So there's a huge percentage of the population out there that has no idea how to grow food, how to raise food, and those are some good things about colleges, though, because you can go get back in the day they called it animal husbandry. You can go get an animal science degree. You can get a meat science degree. You can get an agronomy or a horticulture degree.
Natural resource management.
Yeah, come on. And you're a Sol Ross alum?
Graduate, yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Natural resource management, minor in ag business. Loved every minute of it. I never had a professor, man or woman, that didn't cheer for me and help me out achieve my goals.
Would you say that Sol Ross is probably the most cowboy school in Texas?
They really enjoy helping out, in my opinion, whether it's agriculture. They have a great program for exotics or anything with Western way of life. They'll help get you where you need to be. And if they can't, they can port you in the right direction. Whereas if you need to go and specialize, and they really help outsource those people. Most of those people go on to teach either at Sol Ross or at junior colleges or other colleges. I mean, they're top notch for sure, I'd say.
I always enjoyed that college rodeo they had.
Yes, sir. It's a
that was
blast.
one of my favorite ones.
CJ's done a great job with it, and it's only getting bigger. But to touch down on your point, well, yeah, most of the time, people that don't know the laws now, they wind up getting our kind of people. We're like, yep, I could use a free vacation. throw me in the jail.
What we're got to get close to wrapping up here, but what is, one highlight of your career as a rodeo cowboy that you'd like to share?
I got so many of them I couldn't. Honestly, my point of view, I've done a lot of great things and accolades are great, but I'm still not where I want to be, and I'm always trying to pursue that. I couldn't do it without my sponsors. You guys really helped me when I had my arena. That's what I pulled the blue, baby.
Yeah,
and then,
you wore the blue today. I see
sir,
that.
Yeah, and then Grogan's and Capital Hatters. But man, I tell you what, I had a lot of ups and downs, and I just couldn't pinpoint one time because they're all great.
Well, tell one of them.
Well, winning the WCRA was a big highlight. I'd never won a check that big at one rodeo. And Matt Reeves helped me win that. We was bared down trying to win the year end, and I dang near killed us once. We found the back of the bucking chutes. He's tough enough to stay in there so I could throw the steer down, and we come back, and he's like, let's be professional here and really get a start. And I wound up winning second there at the finals, and then it helped me win the year in. But that's probably one of the proudest things I'm proud of. I place at all kinds of different rodeos, but the first part of my career, I was like, well, wait till the next one. You think that's great, wait till the next one. And now I'm like, whenever you succeed, you really ought to enjoy it and not take it for granted. And just keep working hard, but pat yourself on because you're not as important as you think you are, no matter what happens in life.
I like that. That's sound advice.
Yes,
Remember
sir.
that strong.
Okay.
What's the best piece of advice you've gotten throughout the years for rodeo and ranching?
Well, the greatest thing I could say, Matt Reeves is really good at this. He's like, if you can't tell me what happened through the entire run, then you don't know enough and you haven't ran enough. And you're not where you need to be. That's when you need to worry. So the thing I try to tell kids nowadays, watch the film, realize what you're doing. Don't look at me and lie and say, well, I think this is what happened. Instead of running 200, run your 10 and have a plan and understand what's going on those 10. Build your confidence. Be done with it. Don't sit there until you create a bad habit. And I've had coaches and stuff where, mental coaches. And the number one thing is most people work so hard at something, they form a bad habit or they quit on that. Well, then that carries over. Let's not ever, I would say, less runs, more thought, 100%. When you know what you're going to do, and I teach this in my schools, I do some shoot dog in schools. And then the cool thing will be whenever those kids get to come to our jackpot, we have the largest bulldogging jackpot going right now. We've done 2 years and paid out almost $350,000. That's how much I love my sport. But and rodeo. And I really like to thank my wife. I really went from my granddad's partner, and then he passed, to my wife's partner, and I think she's the lady that saved me and is helping me get to where I need to be every day. I couldn't do it without her. I joke around a lot. I'm really hard on my wife. She puts up with a lot of bullshit that comes out of my mouth, as we all know. But she is my bread and butter, and I couldn't do life without her. And I think the best thing that anybody can do is have a great partner to back them in life, no matter what they're doing.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Amen to that.
So, where can you find to enter in on one? Social media, website, phone number
What's that?
to enter in on your bulldogging classes.
We do Facebook or call. Everything's Facebook now. A man can get caught up in social media and think yourself to death.
Well, and it's just Sam Powers on Facebook.
Sam Powers, yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, Sambo, Harris and I appreciate you coming on, hanging out with us, and giving us some inspiration and a lot of good quotes. Wish you great success going on.
Thank you, brother. Till next time, fellas. Keep riding for the brand.
Bueno,
Grab the
bueno.
checks.